Okay.
Okay, Carl, I think we're live.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome, everyone. I call this meeting to order at 7:03. Are there any additions or subtractions to the agenda? Anna?
I'm gonna remove the SRC programming fund.
Alicia?
Can we remove the ARC allocations from the agenda?
Daniela?
Hello, can we strike ASRF and AAC travel mini grant allocations? Thank you.
Josh?
Hi all, can we strike capital contingency and contingency programming, please?
And Phoebe?
Can we strike TGIF allocations?
All right, awesome. Anyone else going once, going twice? Okay, awesome. Can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda for last week's.
Second.
Who was that second? I'm sorry.
I second.
Okay. Sarah motions, Daniela seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, by a vote of 12-0, the agenda is approved. Okay. Now we'll get into the minutes. I hope everyone was able to review the minutes from last meeting. Are there any changes that anyone would like to make? Eliana, is that a new hand? Oh, no, I guess not.
Thanks for checking.
Okay. All right, if there's no changes, can we get a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting?
Move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
I second.
All right, Eliana motions, Theodore seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, by a motion of 12-0, the minutes from last week's meeting are approved. All right, now we'll open up public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for Bruins to come and kind of express their any questions, concerns, or comments they have to council. If you're here to give comment, please raise your hand to be promoted. All right, going once, going twice. Okay, awesome. All right, closing public comment at 7:06. Okay, now we're getting to funding. First thing is SFS allocations. Is one not here? He is not here. Okay. All right, so we'll skip back to that. We'll get back to that. All right, we'll go to Bruin Advocacy Grant allocations. I understand that Devon has a proxy. Benjamin.
Hey, Carl. I appreciate it. Hi, everybody. I wasn't able to strike this because I was just like, I was I was an attendee when we went over to strike it, but so I wasn't able to do that. But I appreciate it if it was. I don't think we can strike it now, but it was supposed to be stricken.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. I see Juan has joined. Juan, did you have anything for SFS allocations?
I'm so sorry, I joined a little bit late, but no, I was supposed to strike it. No updates for SFS allocations at this meeting.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, we're moving along. So I guess we'll get into our first appointment. We have TGIF appointment. Is Mia Rosati here?
Hi, yes, I'm present.
Okay, awesome. Hey, how's it going?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing good, doing good. All right, so I'll just kind of give everyone a heads up how appointments go. I know we did these 2 weeks ago, so basically we'll do the individuals here who are up for a position, we'll give an opening statement, and then we'll ask a couple questions, like 3 to 5 questions, and then they'll give a closing statement. We'll go into ARC's recommendation, and then we'll vote. So yeah, that's how we'll go. So we'll start with Mia. You're free to give your opening statement.
All right, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Mia Rosati. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a rising third-year student majoring in ecology, behavior, and evolution. I'm applying for a position as a voting member of TGIF, and I feel that my participation in sustainability spaces within and outside of UCLA has prepared me to take on this role. This past year, I was a member of the Native Plant Nursery team of the SAR program, and in that position, I worked alongside a small team pushing for the implementation of native plant gardening and landscaping at UCLA. I also met many wonderful students and faculty in UCLA sustainability spaces when I participated in the Slicker Retreat cohort, where we explored the intersections of personal identity, community activism, and climate resilience. Outside of UCLA, I was also volunteering my time for two student-led nonprofits that work on initiatives to protect endangered species and habitat. These collective experiences, among others, have afforded me unique opportunities to exercise leadership while working on projects I am passionate about. I aim to bring this knowledge and these skills from my background into the work I hope to do with TGIF this year. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Mia. All right, now we'll open it up for questions. Council members, please raise your hand if you have a question. Let's get a question, guys. Let's get something. All right, there we go. Eliana.
Thank you. So Mia, sounds awesome. Love your qualifications. So what's your plan to encourage students to get involved who might not have been involved in sustainability so far?
Yeah, I think my approach so far has really just been through networking, like trying to encourage people who have absolutely no prior experience or knowledge about sustainability or connection to those initiatives within UCLA's specific frameworks, just like encouraging them to pursue it or even just think about it, like having things on people's mind is the first step. I think education is super important in terms of encouraging people to be more conscious and make changes in their lives on a personal level as well as in a community organizing level. So if I were to be appointed to TGIF, I think that I would continue to do more outreach within that structure as well as on my own, and hopefully get more people to be motivated about pursuing sustainability.
Amazing, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Phoebe.
Thanks, Mia, for applying to be part of TGIF. My question for you is, how do you think TGIF could improve in this next year in terms of like funding a bunch of like sustainability projects or work on campus?
Yeah, I think that at least in my own background, having been on SAR and other things, I had heard about TGIF just kind of like in the periphery, like knowing that it was available for students to apply to as needed. But I think that like promoting it even further so that students know that it's such a great resource that's available to them so that they can receive adequate funding for their own initiatives is really key. So I think that going into TGIF this year, just really like trying to do more connecting towards student groups as well as individuals who have brilliant ideas that they want to see move forward and receive help with that. I think that like, yeah, just really trying to connect with people one-on-one and kind of mentor them throughout the process. Like I know there must be a lot of questions that come up as people submit their applications, and specificity is really important when considering whether or not an application receives funding and how much. So I think that like really being also aware of like how much money we have to allocate and where would be most important would be kind of like the key criteria that I would consider.
Thank you. All right. Does anyone else have another question for Mia? Okay. If not, Mia, you are free to give your closing statement.
All right, thank you so much. So from this interview, I hope that my enthusiasm for learning and collaborating with others on group initiatives has been evident. I have a lot of love for UCLA and I'm very grateful for the opportunities I've had for personal growth here thus far. Additionally, I'm also proud to continuously witness many strengths of our institution structure and operations. But that being said, there's certainly more UCLA students and faculty must work on in order to promote sustainability across all fronts. I hope to be among the other members of TGIF who get to play a part in supporting student-led projects that benefit our community. I find that I'm at my best when I get to bounce ideas off of others while also getting to listen to their perspectives, our collective knowledge and experiences shaping the work we do and the positive difference we make together. All of my past and ongoing experiences have strengthened my organizational and communication skills, have helped me to learn to navigate stressful or high-pressure situations, and have otherwise shown me how I thrive in a team-oriented environment. I hope to contribute my time and efforts to TGIF this fall, and I thank you all very much for considering me for the position.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mia.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Yeah, no problem. All right, we'll get into ARC recommendations.
Yeah, so ARC approved Mia by a 3-0 vote.
Awesome, thank you. And now we'll open up the floor to council. Are there any questions, concerns, or comments anyone wants to make right now? We can hear from ARC first if y'all want to just kind of explain your vote.
I can talk. We just thought that Mia was a great and like qualified candidate for TGIF. Like she knows what she's doing. She's really passionate about sustainability. So that's why I think we all voted 3-0 for Mia. So
thank you. Anyone else want to add something to that? Okay, if not, then can we get a motion?
Oh, sorry, Sarah, go for it.
I move to approve Mia Rosati for the position of TGIF representative.
Can we
Second.
second it? Okay, I heard Phoebe first. So Sarah motions, Phoebe seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, and by a vote of 12-0, the motion passes and Mia is now TGIF representative. Congratulations.
Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Himaja. I see she's currently here. Himaja, are you ready to give your opening statement?
Thank you. My name is Himaja. I'm currently a 4th year studying Asian American Studies. Super excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited to kind of continue with the Academic Senate and especially the Exec Board from last year. I saw a lot that could be improved and a lot that we did do last year that I was hoping to kind of continue in, especially with just accountability and transparency and making sure that I create a space for students and not just for students, but a space for students to come and express their thoughts and not just be a representative, but be someone that could really open up that space. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Himaja. All right, now we'll open the floor up for council members. I see we got Eliana.
Thank you. So excellent, Himaja. Thank you for being here. And my question is, there's been a lot of issues in terms of disability rights as well as the impact on others in need of higher access, like many international students, commuters, parenting students, which I think not the students, but others on the Academic Senate have not managed optimally. So how are you going to first be an advocate and try and make things move forward at least a tiny little bit through your work in Academic Senate?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I would love to say that I can just, say what I think and they would go take the ball running with that. But a lot of things that I saw last year, or I think I will continue saying, is that there's just a lack of understanding of we as students face at a day-to-day basis. Most of the people who were on the committee, who were staff members or faculty members, weren't living on campus or didn't commute to campus every single day. And so there was just a lack of understanding, right? And I think just being persistent and making sure that your voice is heard as a student. There's only 2 students on each committee, or 1 or 2, depending on what committee it is. And so really just being persistent and making sure that you can say what you think, but there's no guarantee that they're going to agree, or that, you know, whatever you say is going to be passed on. And just, yeah, that's what I would do.
Appreciate that. Very honest, and I'm glad we have folks like you to try and hold down that space for us as much as possible.
I appreciate it.
Sarah?
Hi, Himija. Thank you so much for coming. My question was, one, I get a 2-part question. 1, what do you think makes you the best candidate for this appointment? And 2, what do you think are like some strengths that you will bring to the position, I guess?
Yeah, good question. I think it's just experience, and it's also understanding that I can only really bring my experience as a student, and everything else comes with being able to create space for another student or another group of students who have experienced something that I haven't or will never experience, to come and express their thoughts and be their voice. And there are plenty of students like yourselves that are already doing the work. And so being open and understanding that the work is already being done. It just has to be at the space or at the power that I may or may not hold, and just going from there. Really, yeah.
Juan?
Thank you so much for providing such amazing responses. I wanted to know and pick your brain a little bit on, I guess, your experiences from last year, and what lessons did you learn during your this past year and the work that you did, and how will that improve your service for this upcoming year if you were to be appointed?
Yeah, great question. The biggest thing that I felt was going in, I was really excited to see kind of like rapid change, especially with COVID protocols. I was really disappointed in how slow things were moving. And when things were done, it wasn't always the best interest for students. I can give a specific example. I think when we first transitioned in winter quarter from online to in-person classes, one of the directors was talking about how the vast majority of students didn't want any sort of online class, or not even hybrid. They really just wanted to be in person. And then when we did transition into person, a lot of professors got pushback on solely having in-person classes. And then we heard that, you know, there is some leeway in terms of what students want and the flexibility that I think we deserve. And so it's kind of just that. I wish there was a little bit more space for students to come in, and not just me, but really students across undergrad or across the campus to come in and talk to those professors, talk to the faculty. And hopefully that's what we're going to see this coming year. And also meetings possibly would be in person. I think that would be a lot nicer to see faces and to kind of vote things into perspective in that way.
All right, awesome. Okay, it looks like we don't have any more questions. Himija, you're free to give your closing statement.
Thank you. Hopefully you all get the understanding that I think I see this position as a role of possibility of what we could do in the future. We don't know what's going to happen with COVID. We don't know what's going to happen with monkeypox. And I see that a kind of pattern continuing this year. And so hopefully we get to kind of combat that firsthand in person and go from there. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, thank you so much, Himija. All right, Art, can we get your recommendations?
Yeah, so ARC approved Himija with a 3-0 vote.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, does anyone have any questions, concerns, or comments they want to kind of bring up? Or I'm sorry, questions or concerns? Well, I'll say some. Himija worked in my office last year, so she's a great worker, was always on top of things. So I think she'd do a pretty good job in this position. So glad you went for it. And if no one else has anything else they want to say, I guess, can we get a motion?
Move to approve Himija for Executive Committee of the Academic Senate.
I second.
All right, Ellie on the motions, 1 second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, and by a vote of 12 to 0, Hemaja the motion is approved, and Hemaja is now the executive board. Congratulations. Okay, next up we have Luis Chavez. Have they been promoted yet?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How's it going?
Going good, going good. All right, you are free to give your opening statement.
All right, for sure. So, hello everyone. My name is Luis Garcia Chavez. I am a rising senior for the upcoming year. I major in poli sci and labor studies and minor in public affairs. So I am applying obviously for the Council of Planning and Budget. I am really interested in like trying to allocate like budgeting and funding to like a lot of units that tend to be underfunded and tend to have like direct services. So like things that come to mind would be something like the transfer center that like provides like a lot of like direct like services like giving food, giving academic advice, giving like resources, fellowships, but they don't have their own building. They share with the I believe the Black Bruin Center. That's so I really want to focus on like planning more money for those type of units that really do those like direct things, like a student who is like struggling getting food and then they go to the center and like they see it and they get it for free. They feel it's such a big impact. I myself have like been faced insecurities a lot throughout my life, so I always love it when like schools provide services like that. And I think like focusing on those type of like units that provide direct services is really important. I am actually really experienced in dealing with budgeting. Like I am actually the chair for SBAC. So I've done a lot of like recommendations for the student fee advisory committee, and so I know how to analyze budgets. I know how to do like carry forward. I know how to like do like very efficient ways of like allocating. Also have experience with that. I also interned for the city controller in LA. So I did a lot of like financial management, a lot of financial auditing. So I've done a lot of data analysis, stuff like that. And alongside, I've also done research that's made me very like familiar with the uses of like Excel, data, stuff like that can be really useful for like a data analysis, especially with like large quantity, like at UCLA. There's like a lot of different units and there's a lot of sub different units that it's a lot easier if you know how to use like these programs to like run it, understand it. So I believe I'm pretty qualified for it. And I think I'm really passionate about helping students. Like that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. You know, I just want to help people. And like I think focusing on the money side is really important and it's overlooked, but it's a very important position that I hope to fulfill and have like a lot of passion for.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, now we'll open it up for the Q&A session. I see Keon and Theodore, you both had your hands raised for a while. Are those new hands or? Okay, all right, we'll go with Sarah.
Hi, Luis. Thank you so much for coming to speak with us. I really liked hearing about your experiences and what you hope to bring to the table. My question was, how do you plan on increasing or like continuing to build on like the transparency of the budget if selected to be a member of the committee?
That's a question that reoccurs. I have a really good answer for that. So in my opinion, I think a lot of these like budget meetings, like they should be like the meeting should be transformed to be a little bit more engaging with the community, like kind of like a town hall moment. You know how politicians, they go out, like they talk to like voters and be like, oh, this is what we're doing in Congress. I kind of want to do something like that, like talk to like students directly, both like maybe in a virtual and in-person town hall. And I was also thinking about using like Cero to like send out like a survey to students being like, what do you think should be prioritized in the budgeting so that we can make recommendations for the chancellor. I think doing that, allowing for transparency, will be great for like students to feel a little bit more involved in the budgeting process at UCLA, because a lot of students feel disconnected, and so did I. So like maybe establishing a little extra steps like that, like they go a long way in feeling like people like that's very accessible and transparent, and it's not like a hidden figure controlling like the student body of UCLA.
All right. Yeah, I guess I got a question for you. Yeah, I was gonna ask. So could you talk a little bit more about some of your experiences in regards to planning and budgeting, and how you plan to specifically bring that to this committee if you're voted in?
Yeah, so the most direct experience that I have is like as chair as SPAC. So like like what I didn't expect is that I got like the money that was being spent for the student peer advisory committee, and I kind of did like a performance review where I checked if the money was being used for student services. So like there'll be something like, did they use it for like providing food for the students? Did they use it for like a fellowship? Like use it for like a job position for students? Then from there, I analyzed if it was important enough to keep their budget, expand it, or reduce it, and like recommend that unit like use their carry forward, or like recommend that they get more money. So that's something I would do in the budget committee. It's like it's very similar but just in a larger process, where like I would like to analyze units that like have a tendency to like provide direct services to students, and then from there expand on their budget. Well, like looking at other units that may not have such a direct impact, maybe reduce their budget and make them a little bit more less bloated in their process.
Got you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Naomi?
Yeah, quick question. So if you are to receive this position today, like how will you go about increasing awareness of issues regarding transfers, Black Bruins, other marginalized groups, and their concerns?
Can you clarify a bit more? What do you mean by awareness?
Like personal awareness of like certain issues affecting those groups.
Like what is like affecting that type of community? Like what's their biggest issues?
Correct.
So I think like using like again using like surveys for like Sero, but using like specifically for like those centers and asking like, what do you think you need in your life? You know, like a lot of students, they might be like, oh, I need like extra food, or I need housing, or I need like help with tutoring, or I need like school supplies. Like maybe asking like students to like direct surveys, like what we can do to expand would be really helpful for like a specific community. So like since like for example, I got undocumented, and like someone sent me a survey directly from the Undocumented Bruin Center. Then they asked like, what do you think we need to do to help you more? Then getting that awareness of their problems would be really useful, so they can actually solve the issues they're facing at school, so they could concentrate on their academics.
Eliana?
I just want to say, first of all, thank you, Lewis. Very impressed with what I've been hearing. Well done. So my question is, building on your experience with the Student Fee Advisory Committee, how do you plan on getting these spaces with have kind of a bureaucratic tendency and can be out of touch to move a bit more in touch with what students need, and actually like how they plan on getting them to pay attention and act based on the input they're getting from students?
So I think like there needs to be like a bigger importance in like establishing like social media presence for like the Council of Planning and Budget, and maybe like updating the websites a little bit more consistently, so then like students can actually see what's going on, who are the actual members. That'll be very useful, because like they'll just think like this is just like a random thing that doesn't affect my life at all. But if you're able to like post in social media, make like awareness, like these are issues that can actually help you, you know, like these are issues like you could get a fellowship that could help you pay for college, like you could get like temporary aid in like getting like menstrual products, stuff like that has a direct impact, and making it the council seem a lot more interesting. It will sound a lot less bureaucratic and more like student like led, as it should be.
Sounds great. Thank you. Appreciate that. I always want. That'd be amazing, because I'll be looking at Academic Senate and I'm like, who are you? Why are you in charge of stuff? How do you do anything? So we'd really appreciate seeing everything clarified over the next year. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Louise, you are free to give your closing statement.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you guys for like listening to me ramble along. I am really passionate about this position. I really want to focus on budgeting. Like how I said before, like my goal in life is to like help people, and I think helping students and providing like the most direct things possible, like menstrual cycles, like notebooks, like laptop loans, like they took out the long-term laptop loans, so like maybe boosting funding for that, like stuff like that. I really want to do to help students, to relieve a lot of the poverty of the law. Around 20% of students facing housing insecurity, including I. So like these little things really do help, and I really want to expand on these. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Louise. All right, now we have ARC. Can we hear your recommendations?
Yeah, so ARC approved Luis by a 3-0 vote.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone want to give any comment? Theodore?
Yeah, I just want to say I personally support Luis in this position. I was able to look at his resume and I heard a little bit on how his interview went when he first applied to the position. And actually, I was hoping to nominate him for one of the positions or one of the committees that I have to nominate. But when I found out that he only wants this particular position because he's so passionate about it, I completely understood. And so for me personally, I really feel like we should give him the position, especially if he's very passionate about it. He seems to be quite qualified, indeed. And I think he has a good heart and he has good intentions. And so I really hope this body makes that decision today.
Awesome, thank you, Theodore. Okay, it looks like we don't have any more questions, so can we get a motion?
Wait, actually, I did have one question. Just because I know that, like planning and budget cycles, like it could be like a really complicated issue with like, some challenges that you might not be familiar with. What is your approach to like trying to solve something that you don't know much about?
I actually can't really hear you. You're very your voice is very low. I can't really I didn't hear anything you just said.
Okay, the question is, what is your approach towards trying to resolve something like a budget issue that you don't know much about?
So I learned when I was in the part of the committee for SFAC that you kind of have to lean a little bit to the experts. You have to do a lot of readings as well. Like if you don't know something, you should probably ask like one of the advisors or one of the professionals and teachers who are on the council and like ask him like one-on-one like, I don't know what this means. Like you can't be afraid to like seem like dumb or you don't know what's going on because you're a student. So like being like upfront, like I don't know this, I want to understand this a bit more, really helps. Because if you're just silent and don't let it happen, you're just gonna like everything's gonna pass towards you. So just being like confident enough to ask questions and admitting when you don't know something is really important.
Okay, awesome. All right, I think that's all. Can we get a motion?
I move the approval of Luis Garcia Chavez for the position.
I second. All right, Theodore motions, heard Keon second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, and by a vote of 13, oh wait. Okay, someone else hopped in. All right. All right, by a motion, by a vote of 13-0, the motion passes, and Luis is now on the committee on planning and budgeting. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Tiara. Have they been promoted yet? There we go. All right, awesome. Well, Tiara, welcome. You are free to give your opening statement.
All right. Hi, everyone. It's so great to meet you. My name is Tiara, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm a second-year sociology major and a film minor, and I'm applying to be a member of the Faculty Executive Committee. I believe I'm a good fit for the FEC because I've had the privilege of providing valuable student perspective to the organizations and the departments I represent. As a member of the Sociology Undergraduate Advisory Board, I meet with sociology faculty monthly and voice the opinions and the concerns of sociology undergraduate students. Through these meetings, I've been able to host drop-in hours and lunches to further connect to and hear from my peers. As an HR representative for ASUCLA, I'm constantly in communication with ASUCLA managers and administration. And this can be anything from questions about training to concerns over a workplace environment. My experiences with faculty, administration, and students will transfer over to a position as a representative for the FEC, where I'll strive to prioritize the undergraduate population's academic and welfare concerns.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tiara. Council members, we're going to open the floor for a Q&A session. Do we have any questions? All right, I guess I'll kick it off. Could you tell us a little bit about, what do you know about this position specifically? And why do you think you specifically are the best person for the position?
I've researched a lot about the Faculty Executive Committee for the past few weeks. I looked at their past agendas and memos, and I've seen a lot of what they've done for my own academic career. For example, they created the Fiat Lux subject area, and without that, I would have never taken my soccer law class, and that is what really got me into pre-law. And I've also seen they created the American Indian Department, they created the Disability Study Bachelor of Arts, they create new courses, they approve new courses, honors coursework, majors and minors. And I believe I would be a good fit for the position because I've had past experience advocating for student voices, but also because I'm really passionate about the academic committee, and I believe I put a lot of research into figuring out what they do, and I would really love to be a part of that.
Awesome, thank you. Eliana?
Thank you, and thanks, Tiara, for being here. Appreciate your work. So I have a specific question, which is if you could try and maybe survey students if they're interested, and then hopefully advocate for disability studies major, because you mentioned the minor, and I think that'd be a cool expansion. And then my broader question is just how do you plan to publicize Academic Senate and get it to be a place where students are involved and heard from? Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Regarding the first part, that was actually one of my initiatives. I'm taking ASL in the fall, and I know Professor Ben teaches all 6 levels. And in the proposal that the Disability Study Department sent over to the FEC, they wanted to expand the department to include an ASL and Deaf Studies minor. And knowing how popular ASL is, I think that would be a great idea, especially to address this year. And regarding your question about transparency and reaching out to students about Academic Senate, I honestly had no idea what the FEC was until a few weeks ago when I was applying. And I realized there was a site that had all their agendas, their memos, literally everything they do. And I think a lot of students don't know about that. So I would love if we could reach out to students over social media, because sometimes face-to-face interactions isn't enough to get a broad idea of what the general student body would like to achieve academically. So reaching out through social media, advertising what we're doing is definitely what I would plan to do to increase visibility for the Faculty Executive Committee.
Oh my God, I love all of that. Thank you, Tiara.
Alicia?
Hi, Tiara. You've already touched on this a little bit, but if elected, what would be your vision for this position in the upcoming school year? And how do you plan to increase, aside from social media, how do you plan to address other ways in which the university should communicate to students other than mostly word of mouth?
That's a really good question. Regarding your first part, what I would plan to do during my position, I would definitely want to reach out to students to discuss the academic initiatives that they want to take. But that being said, there are 3 things I often hear about when in either my clubs, my extracurriculars, or my workplace. The first one is criminal justice courses. There are a lot of people who are interested in criminal justice, if that's criminal psychology or forensics, or they're just interested in the classes. But a lot of those classes fall under the sociology department. And people who are interested in those classes, for example, if they're a psych major, they may not be able to take them because it doesn't fulfill a requirement. Another thing I often hear is the lack of a business major and a business minor. We do have biz econ at UCLA, but it's primarily focused on econ. So it'd be great if pre-business majors could have more courses that help prepare them for the workforce. And the other one I already touched on is disability studies, deaf studies minor, or an ASL minor. And besides social media and word of mouth, I think one of the best things we can do for our students, honestly, would be to invite them to the meetings. I know someone mentioned this. They wish that it wasn't only them speaking up at the meetings amongst the faculty. They could have either video testimonials or have students come in and explain what they would like to see, because I think it's very powerful having a lot of students come in and express their concerns instead of just having one representative advocating for a large majority of the student body. So that would also be great if we could do that.
Thank you, Tiara.
Awesome. All right, does anyone have any other questions? All right, if not, Tiara, you are free to give your closing statement.
So I've spent the last few weeks obsessively researching the Faculty Executive Committee, and I've learned so much about what the committee has done for my own academic career. So if I were to represent my fellow undergraduate students, I would not only want to represent them, but to also raise awareness about the committee's importance. So many decisions they have an impact on us, and I would love to be a proactive voice for my peers. If selected, I look forward to serving current and prospective UCLA undergraduate students. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much for coming. Okay, now we'll open up the session where, oh, well, first off, let's hear ARC's recommendations.
Yeah, so ARC approved Tiara by a 3-0 vote.
Awesome. Okay, and then can we have anyone comment on this interview or just those recommendations? Milan, maybe.
Oh, yeah, I can speak up. Yeah, I think ARC just thought that Tiara was a really, really great candidate. She definitely knew what was going on and definitely researched her position and kind of has ideas for it, which is why I think that ARC voted 3-0 on her application.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything they want to add to that?
Just trying to add, I'm really impressed in general and also appreciate that Tiara has been working on disability education for a long time. That just overall appreciate the focus on the community, on opening this up, getting students to be heard. So yay, awesome, very impressed.
Awesome. Okay, that looks like the last comment. Can we get a motion?
I move to approve Tiara as a USAC nominee for the Academic Senate Faculty Executive Committee.
Second.
Okay, Eliana motions, Alicia seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, all abstaining, please raise your hand. Theodore, I didn't see your hand at first. Did you just, was that a abstain or?
I voted in favor.
Oh, okay. All right, then by motion of 12-0, the motion passes. And Tiara is now part of the FEC for the College of Letters and Science. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving along. Is Marilyn promoted yet? Oh, I see Marilyn. Okay, awesome. Welcome, Marilyn. You are free to give your opening statement.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Marilyn. I am a rising fourth year majoring in math econ. My pronouns are she, hers, and I'm applying to be a senator in LGA. I come from a low income, multiracial background. I also took a non-traditional path to higher education. I started by going to a community college close to home before transferring to UCLA last year. Who I am was who I greatly embraced and emphasized during my time at UCLA. I became a part of this transfer student representatives team of directors. I spoke on a panel for Southeast Asian transfer students, and I also started working at the financial aid office in addition to also being on LGA last year. And through all of this, I was open to new perspectives while sharing a voice of someone who had come from underrepresented communities at UCLA. This is what I want to bring to LGA, again as a senator during my last year. My initiatives include being as transparent as possible by inviting students to send their ideas and opinions on updates they would like to know and things that they would like to bring up to faculty and administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Okay, now we'll open up the Q&A session. Council members, please raise your hand if you have a question. Let's get like 2 or 3 questions. All right, nice. Eliana.
Thank you so much. Very impressed. So My question is, what are you planning to do to get civility issues like hybrid access and permanent incomplete marks in people's transcripts, which I guess sometimes for the like chronic illness hospitalizations and that sort of thing. So what are you planning to do to make as much progress as is possible in that environment?
Yeah, so I noticed last year when I was on LGA, it's a lot of like chancellors and administration telling you updates and their own opinions, and faculty kind of like bringing up their opinions as well. And I think to honestly advocate for underrepresented communities at UCLA, I would love to have thoughts and ideas from students, especially students from disability communities, while also bringing it to LGA. I know that LGA isn't technically an open meeting, so I'd love to bring these up as students that are able to be a part of these meetings and to discuss it, because I know that last year an issue or issue that I had was that because it was my first time in student government, I wasn't able to bring a lot of topics to talk about or questions that I'd like to talk about. So this year I really wanted to change that and bring up a lot more questions, ideas, and try to be more involved in the meetings while also discussing these ideas with faculty and administration.
Excellent. Thank you, Marilyn.
Sarah?
Hi, Marilyn. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. I really appreciate it. My question was part of the role of the position you're applying for is interacting with admin. So how do you plan on representing student voices and just like the diversity of student voices within this position when discussing with admin and being just like a strong advocate in general?
Yeah, so again, I'd love to include a lot of student voices by having questions and ideas that I could bring out into, I guess, media, so a lot of social media that they would at least contribute to. But in terms of being a strong voice for admin, I know that was an issue I had last year because I was super shy. It was my first time at UCLA and student government, but a part that I know that I would super be comfortable with is speaking into the meetings. But in addition to that, there's a question forum that they open up to during every updates and topics, which I would love to start being more active in and including all of the updates and topics that students would want to bring up into the LGA meetings. During my year at UCLA, I have become more comfortable speaking to administration and faculty. I've worked with faculty many times. I've done research where I'd have to discuss a lot of data analysis between faculty members and professors and myself. So through my year at UCLA, I've become more comfortable speaking towards faculty and administration, and I'd love to put that into practice for this upcoming academic year.
Awesome, thank you so much. Okay, we'll close the question and answer session. Seems like everyone asked their question. You are free to give your closing statement.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me for this interview. I appreciate everyone's time and presence. And I want you to know that if I was on LGA, again, I want to bring a voice of students in meetings that may feel dominated by faculty and administration. I also want to bring new perspectives and opinions, especially when discussing with other senators on how to actively bring awareness onto their respective meetings. So with that, I feel that I would be successful in holding a position of a senator in LGA.
Thank you so much. Okay, Art, can we hear your recommendation?
So ARC approved Maryland with a 3-0 vote.
Awesome, thank you. Does anyone want to express any comments? Theodore?
Yeah, I was able to personally sit on Marilyn's interview not too long ago, and I find much joy in nominating her today, and I hope that this body as well accepts this nomination and proceeds to vote to give her the position. She's more than qualified. She's active in regards to the student body. She has experience with USAC. She's very passionate for the transfer community, and I think as trans student rep, there's no better person that I would want on this committee than her. So please put her in. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Theodore. Okay. If we don't have any more comments, can we get a motion?
I move to approve Marilyn Pham for the representative of the Legislative Assembly.
I second.
Okay, Sarah motions, 1 second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, by a vote of 12 to 0, the motion passes, and Maryland is now part of the Legislative Assembly. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for coming. Okay, next we have Lauren Heiberg. Have they been promoted? Oh, okay, I see. Lauren, you're free to give your opening statement.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Heiberg, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm a rising third year majoring in history and minoring in global health, but I'm also on the pre-med path. I'm applying to the Student Health Advisory Committee. I'm extremely passionate about health education, and many of my experiences revolve around just this and social media marketing. Last year, I was a digital communications intern at one of the National Institutes of Health, where I learned the importance of clear communication in healthcare, which I think is vital for the Student Health Advisory Committee. If selected, I hope to increase the educational and outreach components of the Student Health Advisory Committee, because while we are advocating for improved healthcare resources and services, it's really important to keep UCLA students updated. Through more social media outreach and connecting with a larger variety of student organizations, SHAC can get more student input and ensure that our recommendations support all students. We can also make sure that students are utilizing any new resources because often it is very confusing to navigate healthcare and insurance. And I believe that my experience gives me the perfect skill set to connect with UCLA students and ensure that they have access to health services that fit their needs.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren. All right, now we'll open up the Q&A session. Council members, please raise your hand if you have a question. Naomi?
Yes, hello again. So just my question would be like, how will you use like your past experience and past roles and the various extracurriculars that you have done in this position if you are to receive it today?
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm currently in is CAPSA, which is a health justice organization. I am their health literacy director. So one of CAPSA's main focuses is health insurance and making sure that it is more accessible and understandable. So I have a lot of experience educating students on that, and then also educating high schoolers on basic health information, such as the importance of mental health. So I think that experience educating people and communicating with people, especially on insurance, will be very helpful for SHAC. I also think that my communication experience is very helpful with a large variety of groups because through the UCLA Blood and Platelet Center, I am their outreach director for the Brew and Blood Initiative, which is the student group that works with them. So I've run an Instagram that I created that now has 5,000 followers. So I think I could help use my social media experience to make sure that we're reaching more students. Because I know I didn't know anything about SHAC until very recently. I didn't even know that it existed. And I think we could connect more with students and help them with their insurance, because I was personally very confused about how insurance at UCLA works.
Anna?
Hi, Lauren. My question is, what do you believe is the greatest health concern among students, and how do you?
Lauren, were you able to hear that?
Yeah, I heard greatest health concern among students. Okay, so I think that the greatest health concern among students, or one that I think is very important, and I hear a lot about from my peers, is mental health care and being able to access care at CAPS. It's something that I've had some issues with as well. So one thing that I think that we could do is advertise mental health resources more. For example, I know that they have private spaces for CAPS appointments. And when I've been to therapy on campus before, it's been really hard to find somewhere where I could do it privately with so many roommates. And so I didn't even realize that that was an option until like a year later. So if we could advertise that. Other things like improving accessibility of the information. I know a lot of people struggle with phone calls, and I noticed that on the CAPS website, many of the resources require calling the center to learn more and or just to like get help. And a lot of people, especially with anxiety, have trouble with phone calls, or maybe verbal communication is not their preferred method. So if we could have more ways to connect with CAPS and just get the information out to students, that would be great.
Alicia?
Hi. Speaking of CAPS, because I've personally had a really rough experience with them, if you were able to, in any capacity, expand their programs and expand, I don't know, just like student input, when it comes to the way CAPS is run, how would you do that? And what do you think are some things that should be improved within CAPS, aside from what you just said, which is very, very important. And I really appreciate you for saying that.
Yeah, a couple other things that I think we could improve is resources for students without UC-ship. I know it was very confusing to navigate getting mental health services for me because I do not have UC-ship. So putting a section on the website about that. Another thing is one of my friends was able to get help through a referral from CAPS. And I think a lot of people are not aware that that exists and that CAPS can help get you a therapist or services outside of UCLA when their services are too busy with students or the wait lists are too long. So like I said before, but a lot of education about those kind of things. And then also more resources for students on campus, because I know that it can be really hard to travel. So sometimes after you have run out of your appointments with someone at CAPS, they will refer you to someone outside, and it's hard to find one that is close to campus, especially for those of us without cars. And it makes it really hard to access mental health services because you have to go out of your way, take time out of being a student to go get help. So if we could give more resources on campus or very close by that students could use, such as group sessions or just expanding the number of therapists we have. But I would just make sure to take input from the students and try and share that with the people at CAPS and at the Ash Center to try and make sure that we are supporting all students as much as we can.
Awesome, thank you. And I guess I'll be your final question. I just had a question. So, UCLA, the administration at least plans to, go back to a pre-pandemic environment. So, how are you serving your role, in, being fair to, I guess, that, I guess those expectations while also, giving advice on, monkeypox and, COVID and things of that nature?
Yeah, I think on one hand, we do have to follow what the administration is deciding, but we can still advocate for students to do procedures like wearing masks. I think one thing that we could do is I guess promote some of the reasons to do it, or some of the reasons to continue to be cautious about COVID or monkeypox, which is a new issue. So more educational things. For example, I know a lot of students don't know very much about monkeypox or the risks, so we could help educate on that through events or social media. Also for COVID, bringing some perspectives from disabled students or immunocompromised students who may not be able to access campus safely right now, and advocate for students to make sure that they are staying safe and supporting people who might not feel comfortable going back to our normal pre-pandemic world, considering we still have COVID and a potential threat from monkeypox.
Awesome, thank you so much. All right, next we'll hop into, I'm sorry. I don't think anyone else has any other questions, so now you're free to give your closing statement.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to interview for this position. Over the past few years at UCLA, I found my passion for education and health justice, but until now, most of my work was either outside of the UCLA community or focused on a very small, specific topic or group of students. While writing an article about mental health services at UCLA for the Society of Genetics Research Journal, I was inspired to get more involved in campus healthcare, and that's why I applied for this role. If chosen, I hope to make UCLA Health Services more accessible for all students through increased outreach and education. I would also use my marketing skills to increase our social media presence to reach a wider range of UCLA students and ensure that new resources are widely known. I would advocate for improved, affordable, and accessible resources and services based on student impact. And most of all, I want to actively listen to and learn from the people that I connect with, especially students from marginalized groups who might not be represented by or helped as much by our healthcare services currently. So overall, I want to strengthen the connection between SHAC and the student body, so our recommendations support all students and result in accessible services.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren. Okay, now we'll move into ARC recommendations.
Okay, yeah. So ARC approved Lauren by a 3-0 vote.
Okay, awesome. Does anyone else have any questions or any comments or concerns regarding Lauren? Going once, going twice. All right.
Speak. Oh, sorry. I don't
Oh yeah,
know.
you can go ahead,
Yeah.
Lauren.
So Lauren was an SWC recommendation, and like we really love talking to Lauren. She like definitely has a lot of ideas for SHAC, and like yeah, no, I think she has a lot of ideas for SHAC and is very experienced, which is why we voted with the 3-0 vote for Lauren.
Awesome. Anna, do you want to give any comments?
Yeah, I just want to say that I highly recommend Lauren, which is why she's one of my appointments. She has a lot of experience in this area and really knows the health industry well.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, with that, can we get a motion?
I move to approve Lauren for our Student Health Advisory Committee.
Can we get a second?
A second.
Okay, Eliana motions, Naomi seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Okay, and by a vote of 12-0, the motion passes, and Lauren is now a part of the Student Health Advisory Committee. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Next, we'll be moving into Nalaya for the OSAC chairperson position. Is Nalaya here? Oh, awesome. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, you're free to give your opening statement.
Yeah, hi y'all. My name is Nalaya Canary and I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm a rising second-year biochem major, though I am planning on applying into human bio and society. And I'm currently applying for the Office-Based Allocation Committee chair position. I would be a good fit for this position because of my experience in very different realms of student groups. I'm currently the internal vice president for Indian Student Union, the community outreach project director for Facilities Commission, a programming board intern for Res Life, and actually this summer I'm a new student advisor. Having been a part of so many different communities and interacted with so many different students and student groups, I feel like I have a good platform to gauge student interest and need in extracurriculars, and I feel that I can justly allocate space and materials to student groups.
Awesome, thank you so much. All right, well, now we'll open it up for the Q&A session. Council members, please raise your hand if you have a question. Let's get about 2 to 3 questions. All right, there we go. Phoebe.
Hey, Nalaya, my question for you is how you plan on implementing your ideas for OSAC chair. And then bonus other question, I'm curious what have been the best ways to reach out to students and student groups in the past that you've experienced?
Sure. So starting out with some of the ideas that I have for this position, I think that something that we have to come to terms with and something that has been acknowledged in the past is that UCLA doesn't have unlimited space for student organizations to hold their meetings, to engage with their student groups. And so something that I think could combat this is creating a directory of open areas on campus, whether that be discussion rooms that I know are open throughout hours of the day, as well as other spaces on campus that are open for student groups to meet in, whether that be a couple times a week or use as a set space that is not one of our allocated offices. So I think having this directory would be very helpful to send students who are not able to get a student group space allocated for them. It would be a good place to house them for at least a short amount of time while we figure out another solution for them. Another idea that I think would be very useful is to have our own space as OSAC to provide office materials. Something that I think is very interesting about student leadership is that it feels like a double-edged sword where it's resources to do that. And I think that OSAC could move into a position where we are helping our student leaders out too. And one more idea that I would like to implement in my role as OSAC chair would be having a kind of quarterly check-in with every organization that is asking for space, whether that be quarterly or bi-quarterly. I think it would be a good way to assess the way that we are accommodating our student leaders' needs, as well as seeing how they are using the space and seeing if there's another group that could use the space more efficiently than them. To answer the second part of your question, Phoebe, in terms of communication, I think that one of the best ways to reach the general student body, everyone, even though it's not everyone's favorite, is emails. That is the way that everyone at least reads a headline and understands what's going on. Obviously, social media is also a very strong platform for engaging our students and seeing their interests and how they want to interact with their student government. And to engage some of our first and second years, people who are generally living on the Hill, as well as our RA population, everyone who's on the Hill. I think it would be really helpful to connect with Res Life and reach out to students in that way to get their interest, to see what needs that they need met.
Awesome. All right. Do we have any more questions? Going once, going twice. Okay. Nalai, you are free to give your closing statement.
Sure. So I feel like I've spent a lot of time this summer just acting as a new student advisor. It's become my entire life at this point. But being in this role, I found myself managing expectations on a lot of fronts. A lot of students that I counsel in a given session are the same major and going for the same classes. So it feels somewhat similar to allocating space. I've found myself kind of managing expectations on the front of, you may not get this space, and don't worry, we will find a way for you to have the resources that you need to move forward in another way. And I think that's something that I would like to bring in my role as OSAC chair. My goal in this position would ultimately be to better equip student groups, especially those that are marginalized, new, or see a lot of students, and help them to serve their respective communities. So I'd like to thank you all for your time tonight. And if approved for this position, I'm looking forward to serving and helping other student leaders serve our student body.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, Art, can we hear your recommendations?
Yeah, so ARC approved Nalaya by a 3-0 vote.
Okay, and could you expound on that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So we just thought that Nalaya was really experienced. She knows about allocating space and knows about these different communities. As she's listed in her introduction, she has a lot of experience with the student body, which is why I think we voted with the 3-0 vote on Nalaya.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Does anyone else have any comments or concerns? Going once, going twice. Okay. Can we get a motion?
I move to approve Nalaya as the OSAC chairperson.
I second.
Okay, Phoebe motions, 1 second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, and by a vote of 12-0, the motion passes, and Nalaya is our new OSAC chairperson. Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we made it through the appointments. All right, now we'll get straight into officer reports. Over the last 2 weeks, I've mainly been just, working on, training my office, getting them prepared for this year. I have a lot of transfers on my team, some individuals who are in roles, but they've never been like actually on campus. So just wanted to like bring them up to speed on, what's going on campus and just get them prepared for everything. Also, have met with a couple of council members and also ASUCLA regarding one of our appointments that we'll talk a little bit more about offline. And yeah, that's pretty much what my office has been doing. So we'll shift it over to internal IVP.
Yeah. So far for council business, I've just been working with ARC, interviewing like the 6 individuals for these appointments that we had today, and then recommend them for council. I just want to shout out ARC, especially Naomi, for being so communicative and committed to like doing these interviews with me and like taking notes. Naomi is a great note taker. And I will organize like and release the ARC interview times for the next cycle. So any applicant that was recommended to us, we'll get an email from ARC soon about like ARC interviews. And if any council member has a recommendation, please send me their application and their email as soon as possible so that we can get those interview times to them. In terms of like my office, so we had an executive meeting to discuss like the next steps for the office. And we're planning to meet one-on-one with directors this week to kind of check in with them and see where they're at with their initiatives. I sent an email to Spark to get the resources together for my directors who are planning to host the rent relief rewards. So hopefully we can get that soon. And then we're also working with the marketing directors to host our IVP director spotlights soon on Instagram. But yeah, that's all for my office.
Thank you. Gen Rep, I'm sorry, EVP.
Like, Carl, you're not going to skip me, are you? No, I'm kidding. But okay, hi everybody. I'm again Divine's proxy for tonight. My name is Benjamin Blevins, and I'm the Director of Federal Relations. So let's see. The EVP has been, meeting with a lot of internal and external organizations. I know that we've had a meeting with Housing, Hospitality, and Administration with Sarah Dundish, and then also the Vietnamese Student Union. Let's see, UCSA is coming to campus on Saturday. Not Saturday, September, starts with an S, same sort of thing. So they're coming in September. If anyone is interested on doing any specific presentation at UCSA, please let our office know. We'd be more than happy to set that up. We'd be more than happy to, advertise the goodness that USAC is doing and all of you specifically in your own offices. So really, there's a lot of fun stuff and cool stuff that you'll be seeing hopefully soon, and the resolution at the end of this meeting. And again, I hope and pray that that's everything that she needed me to say. But if it's not, I'm sure she'll reach out individually offline. But other than that, that's it for EVP.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming through, Benjamin. All right, next we have Gen Rep 3.
Thank you. Thanks, appreciate it. So in terms of council-wide business, been working on some stuff related to transparency and fairness, which probably talk more about offline. In terms of my own office, been working with Geronimo Thomas, who I've already told you he's awesome, but he remains awesome. And the lovely folks at Associated Students UCLA Board of Directors. So we're trying to do some stuff to have jobs for foster youth, because with the crazy housing expenses and everything people are up against, they should at least be able to get a job so they can have their attention and meet their needs and hopefully have something left over to enjoy at UCLA. So we're going to be working on that. And there will be more stuff going on with that in September with Associated Students UCLA meetings. And also shout out to my amazing directors in my office, Cecilia and Reva. They've been reaching out to various student groups working on nutrition issues. Cecilia setting up a cooking class with the lovely folks at Strive Out Hunger and Teaching Kitchen. So that's cool. And I think that's all for the week. Great to be with y'all.
Thank you. All right, Community Service Commissioner.
Hi, everyone. So for the Community Service Commission, we have been working very hard to start planning our fall and some winter programming. We're so excited for the school year to start and kind of like be back up in full force. So for the past few weeks, we've been working to kind of like finalize our budget and kind of specifically for the plans of what we're going to be doing for the fall quarter. We have amazing staff with amazing ideas. So more details to come on that, of opportunities where you all can collaborate and participate in. Another thing that we've been working on is the CAC annual opportunities for community service orgs to apply for funding. The CAC annual deadline was extended to this Thursday, August 25th. So just a quick little shout out reminder about that. This week, for the organizations under the Community Service Commission, we are going to be hosting some office hours throughout the week where students can pop in and ask questions. So that's going to be a big task for this weekend, helping students finalize their applications and submit for CAC annual. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. All right, next we have the Financial Supports Commissioner.
Yeah, so in FSC, we've been doing interviews for the CRC position, and we've had our bi-weekly meetings just to get things started for the upcoming school year. And then also we hired a few more people, and yeah, that's pretty much it for FSC.
Awesome, thank you. Next up, Transfer Student Representative.
No report.
Okay. All right. Next we'll go to International Student Rep.
Hi, so we've been working mostly on our website that we're coming up with for the design and content. And this weekend we were specifically working for the healthcare section. Besides that, I've also been meeting with ARC for ARC interviews, and we've set up meetings with the office advisor for the upcoming week, and also been connecting with students through like Instagram and answering their queries and kind of directing the new students who are coming in this year to like the correct resources.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hanska. Okay, now we'll get into the admin reps. I'm kind of sad looking at this. It says O'Connor, but he no longer works here anymore. I don't know if everyone knows that. Josh left us, so he's at another place now. Like not like, you know, the other place, but like he's at another school. He's at another school. All right. But we have Orlando who will be stepping into his role. And Orlando's pretty cool. So yeah, Orlando, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Carl. Yeah, just to confirm what Carl said, Josh is still with us. He has moved on to another role, so we congratulate him on his new chapter in his life. We will miss him greatly. For the time being, I will be stepping into the role of advising USAC. Please reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns, but I and for now and for the foreseeable future, will be taking up this role. So some updates I have for you all, just to piggyback off of Juan, do not forget CAC annual is due this Thursday. If you have any issues, reach out to the sole advisor that oversees your organization, or if you're advising them, please encourage them to speak to their advisor ASAP. Very little considerations can happen after the deadline has passed, but if we find information before the deadline, there may be some way we can work with the organization. So please reach to us before the deadline. Afterwards, as I said, not much can be done. Also, just a reminder, well, actually not a reminder, re-registration is around the corner already. 2 weeks from today, what is it, September 6th, Tuesday, September 6th, re-registration will begin. It will run through Friday of the second week of the quarter. Everything will remain the same. I take that back. There is one additional requirement for registration. at least one signatory from every returning group must attend a workshop that we'll be offering throughout the quarter. So by the end of fall quarter, the expectation is at least one signatory from every registered group attends a workshop. The workshops will be a variety, hopefully some that pertain to that organization, but we'll be going over things like membership, recruitment, retainment, funding, advertising, policies, graduate student resources. So we're going to be offering a plethora of different workshops. We'll be finalizing that list in the next week, and it will be available when re-registration occurs. Each group will be required to choose a workshop. And if you have any questions, please reach out to the SOL advisor. They will be happy to explain that to you. I think that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Orlando. Jessica?
Hi, y'all. No updates, but just wanted to remind everybody, I think we've met now with most of you regarding your office budgets, but if we hadn't had a chance to connect and we don't have anything currently scheduled, send me some availability that you have for this week, and we'll try to get that scheduled so we can go over your office budget and get you set up with your budget transfer sheet so that you can get your account set up. And if you all need anything else as you're, moving back to campus, getting into your office space, let Archie and I know. We're happy to support y'all. And yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, Jessica. Patty?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I just wanted to give some good, exciting news. I know we're not meeting next week, but we do have our new SGA accounting manager starting on Monday. Her name is Linda. She's really great. She's already had a chance to come by and meet the team. She'll have her first day on the 29th. She is currently the finance manager and oversees and supports the student government at Occidental College. And she has great experience. So she's already really excited about all the things she can do to support the USAC and GSA and SGA. So really, really excited. I will probably have her join the next meeting so she can say hello, introduce herself as well. But I just wanted to share the good news. And we're working to finish staffing up that space. And that's really it for us. Working on summer in the union activities. It's been great seeing CSC and other USAC officers out there. Oh, great. Thank you, Jessica. I will be out a couple of days at the end of next week as well. But Archie is also here, and I'll be here through Wednesday if you all need anything. I'll just be out for a couple. And thank you all so much. Have a good night.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Is Steven here? Patty, Jessica, do y'all know where Steven is?
I don't see Steven here tonight.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to Archie.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have anything tonight. If you guys need any assistance with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know if you guys need any help, okay? Thanks, have a good evening.
Awesome, thank you, Archie, I appreciate it. All right, next, we don't have any old business, so we'll get straight into new business. So I see contingency programming guidelines by Jenny Wang and Josh.
Hey everybody, I had sent an email in earlier regarding new proposed guidelines for both contingency programming and capital contingency. The first one on the agenda is contingency programming, which I just sent the link to in the chat. Couple of changes here to note. Most of it, or at least the first two changes, are noting to just a little bit additional verbiage on how we actually run our committee, and just in the sake of increasing transparency with regard to our grading process, as well as with t-shirt funding. Some of the more quantitative changes, at least on the side of capital or contingency programming, we have three main quantitative changes. The first one for honorarium. This past year, we had a lot of feedback where a lot of students wanted to have honorarium payments at an increased volume per quarter. And so we are slightly decreasing the maximum or suggesting a slight decrease in honorarium payments from $600 down to $500, but increasing the quantity of times per quarter in order to achieve student needs and what they had voiced for. In terms of supplies, one of the things that has happened since COVID was we wanted to actually eventually phase out supplies funding for a lot of digital sources. That was supposed to happen this year. I wanted to actually maintain some of those sources of fundings just for student groups to continue to have them, specifically shipping costs for virtual events and subscription payments for websites. This was supposed to be phased out this year, but I believe at least some funding available for student groups is important just in the full transition back to campus. And then a more meaningful change happens in the retreat funding, where our committee is proposing a $200 bonus per retreat application that essentially we'll be able to use for a retreat that promotes diversity and inclusion in the agenda for the retreat. This would be graded in the same manner as which we grade any application. Would love to hear, any thoughts on this from council. This could just be, increasing total retreat funding as a blank, check increase. But we wanted to provide, student groups to specifically apply for additional funding if their retreat focuses on diversity and inclusion. And the last thing was we heard a couple complaints about not enough registration funding. So we wanted to slightly increase that. But those are at least all the proposed changes for contingency programming. I'm happy to dive into any detail on any of those changes if need be.
All right. If council members want to kind of like take a little brief look over that document, I know it has a number of changes. Just take a look and raise your hand if you have a question. We'll do like a 2-minute period where we just kind of review the document. Yes, Eliana, you have a question?
I love the proposed changes. I was wondering if the diversity and inclusion part would also include things like increased disability accessibility for retreats, or also maybe free or lower pricing for increased financial access.
Yes, so both of those things. I guess we intentionally left it, not explicitly clear, just to give us a little bit of wiggle room in how we're grading these applications. But both of those things would be included here. We wanted to essentially have just a blank check bonus for things that retreats that support both of the items that you mentioned, as well as other, diversity and inclusivity proposed changes. Essentially, just as a way for, if a retreat is specifically focused on just like our example with sports, just bowling, maybe that doesn't apply for the specific bonus, but the things you mentioned would apply.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Glad to hear that.
Of course.
I just had a question because you said a couple of times that people were requesting this and people were asking about this. What specific, like, how did you go about getting the information for these changes?
So on the two changes that student groups specifically voiced for, which was increased volume of honorarium payments, as well as a slight increase in registration costs. These were voiced multiple times throughout this past academic school year. For both of those changes, we probably had roughly 20 different student groups throughout the course of the year who brought it up. So these were, retroactively brought up. When we met as a committee this past week, we found out these changes as long as people remembered student groups, and we just dug through our email and counted up numerically the number of times student groups asked for it, and it was about 20 different groups asking for each change in this past year.
Okay, thank you. All right, does any other, I hope all council members were able to review the document. Does any other council members have any more questions, or does anyone still need more time to review the document? If not, can we get a motion? We have to vote on this. So yeah, can we get a motion?
I move to approve the changes to contingency funding.
I second.
Okay, Ellie on the motions, Naomi seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right. Okay, by a vote of 12-0, the motion passes and the changes for contingency programming guidelines are approved. All right, and the next thing is capital contingency guidelines. Wait, okay, yeah.
So this is a separate fund. This is for capital contingency, which is for a lot of USAC offices. This is very minimal changes. Essentially, the changes here that we would like to enact is increasing the amount of funding for printers and copy machines for funding, as well as increasing the amount of funding for computers and desktops. With a lot of rising technological costs in this past year, we thought an increase in this specific component would be necessary for specific offices applying for desktops. And then one of the things that was not previously funded was as part of these guidelines, we need lockdown equipment for desktops. So essentially, something chaining the desktop to the desk. And that was not previously funded. And so we did want to provide a small fund just to be able to cover that. So no, organization is actually covering that out of pocket. And then there's additional verbiage there at the end about just the timeline of capital contingency, as it's a little confusing where it can be open at the start of fall quarter, but those funds aren't actually realized until surplus funding goes out. Those are all the changes, and happy to elaborate on any of those as well.
Sarah?
I was just curious as to, for the funding for lockdown equipment, how was the amount of $100 like reached, I guess?
So typically, a lot of the lockdown equipment is actually very bare bones needed for desktops. A lot of it on Amazon, at least, is roughly anywhere from $25 to $50. And so what we wanted to do here is provide enough funding where it would cover the actual purchase of the lockdown equipment, so that $25 to $50 median, and cover any shipping costs that would come with it. So the entire purchase would still be less than $100, probably roughly $65. So we just wanted to provide a little bit of additional buffer room, just in the off chance shipping costs or additional backlog comes up. We don't anticipate that happening. We anticipate the $100 to be at least $30 more than the total maximum price for lockdown equipment. But most of the time, it's very simple equipment that is usually between $25 to $50.
Eliana?
Thank you. Really appreciate the changes to this. I'm curious how we're going to be funding like the increased stuff for computers and printers, which is awesome, to make sure that nothing else which people need gets cut too much to make space for that.
Yeah, no, great question. At least for this, what we saw last year was from a lot of surplus funds, at least that ran into our office. Not a lot of offices and groups actually used capital contingency, or we actually had leftover funds that were rolled over into the traditional contingency programming fund. So even with these increases, we still had, last year they rolled over, but we still have, we anticipate having the additional funds to be able to cover, these 10 to 20% increases in, total funding amounts for printers, copy machines, and desktops. So we should be totally fine just with these blank check increases, just as an overall percentage, just because some of the funds were rolled over last year into our contingency program.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much.
I had one question, and this isn't really pertaining to the changes. I guess I'm looking at the document. I think a lot of the reason why council members don't use this for their offices is because they don't really know how to go about getting this stuff approved, or just how this process works. So maybe you'll need to come and do a class on this, a little brief of hey, this is how you fill out the documents for this, and these are all the things that you can get. Now specifically, I've seen a document that it says something about furniture, right? What's the cap on that? Do you know, like for furniture for the office?
So to address your first point, I guess what's best is after I'm still in the hiring process. So once I finish that process, I will be having some of those meetings, just explaining a little bit more. I know at least for our for the funding process, it is a little bit confusing. Specifically, capital contingency is very confusing. That's why the additional verbiage was added at the end. But happy to do that to your first point, Carl. At least for furniture, we typically, I believe last year we might have received only one request for furniture, and we typically haven't received a lot of requests for furniture just because it's very steady from year to year. So in the past, we have done that on an ad hoc basis because there hasn't been a lot of different offices asking for furniture. So we were hoping to continue that. So there isn't a cap. Most of it, I think we've seen in year past one or two like new sofas that have been very reasonable and crazy extravagant. But that typically actually doesn't come up. If there is furniture need, we would be happy to address that on an ad hoc basis. At least in the back of our minds, we're envisioning a roughly 500 to 750 soft cap, at least internally on our end. But there's no official cap. In years past, any group that's really applied for furniture, we've typically been able to give full funding amounts. But that is also typically because not a lot of offices apply for that. So right now we're hoping to handle that on an ad hoc basis, just because it's normally fully funded.
Awesome, thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, if not, can we get a motion?
I move, to approve the 2022-2023 Finance Committee, capital contingency funding guidelines.
I second.
All right, Sarah motions, Naomi, I'm sorry, yeah, Sarah motions, Naomi seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. And by a vote of 12 to 0, the motion passes, and the capital contingency guideline changes are approved. I think Eliana needs to be promoted again. All right. Next, we'll move into the resolution, a resolution for the cancellation of student debt by the EVP office. Benjamin, you got the floor.
How we doing? 8:40 p.m. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so this is LOL because they literally just announced that at the end of this week, he's going to cancel 10,000 and extend the pause. But it's still good to have, and we still have a coalition that, Naomi, I will give you this background, but I want to let you guys know about the importance of the resolution, regardless of if he cancels 10,000. It is still extremely important that we are part of a coalition that we can then use in the future for other things that we'd like to do as a national body, rather than just us alone. Our voices are amplified. All of you are amazing student leaders. I don't need to explain too much about how we are greater and our power is greater when we link arms and go forward towards DC together. All right, can everybody see the resolution? I am not a Google seamstress, it is not my forte.
I can share my screen if you want as well.
I mean, I could do it. You're just gonna see a million gajillion tabs.
Okay, whatever you want to do.
Okay, all right. Again, I am not a Zoomstress as well. So hold on, let me just, oh my God. Okay, great. So, Carl, do you usually read through them, where Congress, woo?
Yeah, if you want to read through all of it, you can. But
it's
also
gonna be so fun.
Council members can just kind of glance through it too.
I'll give you the high points. I'll give you the highlights. So, the big highlight, some of the big highlights are that there's $1.7 trillion in student loan debt currently. 45 million Americans currently hold student loan debt. There is UC specific student loan debt in here. That's one of the larger parts of this, is that there's UCLA specific data in here. So I guess it's that, the average loan debt for California was 21.1, so $21,125 of student loan debt. UCLA for federal student loans, this does not include private student loans. I just want to put that out there because the federal government doesn't have a lot of say. I wish Sally Mae would just like come to the table, but in federal student loan debt, it's 23. It's at 20,300. It's been a long day, and so you're seeing that the pause is until August 31st. And the 1995 Higher Education Act, gives them the ability to cancel up to $1 billion of student loan debt. And there's a lot, like the letter itself that we're planning to send to the president and vice president. I'll obviously like fully share it also, if that could be helpful. It goes into the reasons that student loan debt could also catapult our economy. Something about this also that I'd like to point is that this disproportionately impacts people of color, like a million times more. There are predatory loans that were specifically aimed at people of color that 95% of Black borrowers still owe on their student loan, compared to white borrowers who only owe 6%. So if we're looking at the interest rates, if we're looking at the data, this is a racist tactic, and so that's something that we definitely wanted to highlight. We also wanted to call Mr. Bidden on his promise to cancel $10,000. So even though it looks like he is going to be doing that, we wanted to make sure that he knew that we did not forget. We did not forget what he said. And lastly, it's going to be sent to a gajillion people, including the Daily Bruin, the Dean of Students, Eleni Koulanakis, everyone from Joe Biden to the border regions. That's who it'll be sent to. But the let it be resolved is going to be, we're going to call for 50,000. We will see what we get. Hopefully 10. Maybe we can even go a little bit more. But 50,000 is what we're calling for. And we're going to advocate for student governments, advocates for student governments throughout the University of California system, the state of California, and the United States to pass similar things. So yeah. And I will also say that UCSA will have a resolution in September, either retroactively supporting it or supporting the continuation of these efforts. And yeah, is there any questions that anybody has on this? I hope you've had a chance to look at it. There's like a gajillion also sources on it. If you want to look at any of the data, more than happy to answer questions. I mean, I'm just here for the vibes. So, if you, Carl, I'm so sorry. I just cut you off there.
No, you're good. I would literally just about to say, like, thank you so much for coming to present this. This is awesome. Love when you come and present stuff. Obviously, you bring the energy. So thank you. Did council members want to comment or, any concerns regarding this? Everybody tired? All right. Awesome.
It's 8:45. It's 8:45.
Sarah?
I just wanted to say, yeah, I basically what Milan said. It's a really well-written resolution, and I support it, and I don't have any issues with it at all.
Awesome. Okay. Well, if no one else has any comments, questions, or concerns, can we get a motion?
I move to approve a resolution in support of the cancellation of student debt.
I second.
Okay, Phoebe motions, 1 second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, all abstaining, please raise your hand. Okay, and so that was that a new one? Theodore, was that a new one or what?
No, it's an abstention.
Okay, got you. And then all against, please raise your hand. Okay, no, okay, got you, Alicia. Thank you. Yeah, I was missing a couple. I was confused. All right, by a vote of 11 to 1 to 0, the resolution passes. And yeah, thank you so much, Benjamin. And thank you to the EVP office.
Thank
Okay.
you all.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
No, I just wanted to no, I'm kidding. I just wanted to say thank you all. We'll be coming with a lot of hopefully this coalition is going to create a lot more, good trouble and good change. So, hopefully you'll be seeing a good amount more or unfortunately, depending on how this night goes. Thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. And then with that, that is our last item of the day. We will be adjourning here at 8